Imagine kneeling in your garden, your hands sunk into warm soil. The world is quiet, just the sound of bees drifting, the breeze brushing the leaves. In your hand, a packet of seeds. To most, they're life. A future meal, a fragrant flower, a memory waiting to bloom. But here's the secret. Some seeds carry more than life. They carry laws. They carry bans. They carry the weight of centuries of fear, crime, and controversy. Plant them in your backyard, and suddenly, your quiet afternoon isn't gardening anymore. It's breaking federal law. In America, land of opportunity, it turns out not every seed is free to grow. Some crops are banned because they spread like wildfire, smothering everything in their path. Others are banned because they poison you from the inside out. And a few? Because they're tied to ancient rituals, billion-dollar industries, or substances that entire governments wage wars over. So let's take a journey into the hidden blacklist of American gardens. From creeping vines that swallow houses, to fruits that can kill you in a single bite, to a crop so ordinary you've probably seen it in every corner store. These are the 15 crops you cannot legally grow in the United States. Stay with me. Because number one, it's not exotic. It's not rare. It's something you already know. And yet, its story is the most shocking of all. Number 15. Cuban oregano, Plectranthus amboinicus. At first glance, Cuban oregano looks innocent enough. Its leaves are plump and velvety, with a fragrance that fills kitchens across the Caribbean and Asia. Cooks swear by its flavor in curries, soups, and teas. If you stumbled upon it at a market, you'd think it was just another herb to toss into your spice rack. But in the American South, Cuban oregano carries a dangerous label: invasive. This plant doesn't politely stay where you put it. Once it takes root, it spreads aggressively, creeping across lawns and slipping beneath fences. It outcompetes native plants for water, light, and nutrients, choking them out with ruthless efficiency. Imagine planting a tiny sprig, thinking you're being adventurous in the kitchen. Fast forward a few summers, and your neighbors are furious. Their gardens are overrun, their flower beds swallowed. That harmless herb has transformed into an ecological invader. That's why states like Florida and Texas regulate it. Authorities worry that if left unchecked, Cuban oregano could cause the same havoc as Kudzu, the vine that once devoured entire southern landscapes. So yes, even oregano can be illegal. And if that surprises you, wait until you hear about a fruit so prized it was once smuggled into America like contraband jewelry. Number 14. Mangosteen, Garcinia mangostana. They call it the queen of fruits. With its deep purple skin and delicate snow-white flesh, mangosteen is legendary for its sweet, tangy flavor. Travelers in Thailand or Malaysia rave about it, comparing its taste to a mix of peach, strawberry, and citrus all in one. But for decades in the United States, mangosteen was treated not like royalty, but like a criminal. The reason lies not in the fruit itself, but in what hitchhikes inside it. Its rinds and stems are magnets for pests, especially the dreaded Asian fruit fly. If those flies escaped into American orchards, the damage could be catastrophic. Billions of dollars in crops wiped out. So, the U.S. slammed the gates shut. Fresh mangosteen imports were outright banned. If you wanted to taste it, you had to settle for canned versions, stripped of their freshness. Only in the early 2000s did strict sterilization methods finally allow some imports. But here's the twist. Growing a mangosteen tree in your own backyard? still illegal in many areas. Agricultural laws treat it as too risky, a potential Trojan horse for pests. Imagine that. A fruit hailed as queen across Asia, adored by royalty and commoners alike, reduced to a contraband item in America. You couldn't even carry one in your suitcase without risking confiscation at the border. And if the queen of fruits could be banned, what about a fruit that hides a deadly toxin? One that looks cheerful on the outside, but inside carries sickness and death. Number 13. The Ackee fruit, Bligia sapida. Picture this, a market in Kingston, Jamaica. The air is heavy with spice, reggae music hums from a nearby radio, and stalls overflow with vibrant fruit. Among them, you notice something unusual. Bright red pods splitting open like smiling mouths, each revealing glossy black seeds nestled in golden yellow flesh. This is Ackee, Jamaica's national fruit. To locals, it's beloved. Cooked properly, it's creamy, savory, almost like scrambled eggs. It's the heart of Jamaica's most famous dish, Ackee and saltfish. But here's the danger. Eat it unripe or prepare it the wrong way, and you'll unleash hypoglycin A, a toxin that shuts down your body's ability to regulate blood sugar. The result? A brutal condition with an unforgettable name, Jamaican vomiting sickness. It doesn't just make you sick, it can kill. The US government wasn't about to gamble with that. For decades, the Food and Drug Administration completely banned the import of fresh Ackee fruit. Only recently have tightly regulated canned versions been permitted under strict safety testing. So, why does this matter? Because Ackee isn't just food, it's identity. To Jamaicans abroad, the ban felt like a cultural wall, keeping them from a taste of home. And to smugglers, it was an opportunity. Authorities at airports have seized countless bags of illegally imported Ackee, hidden in luggage, carried by travelers desperate for authenticity. Think about it. One fruit, capable of nourishing a nation or poisoning it. Legal on one island, contraband in another. And if Ackee teaches us that danger can hide in sweetness, our next crop shows us how a cactus became both a sacred medicine and a federal crime. Number 12. Peyote cactus, Lopophora williamsii. In the deserts of Texas and northern Mexico, small, round cacti dot the dry earth. They're easy to miss, spineless, modest, no bigger than a fist. But for thousands of years, they've held extraordinary power. This is peyote. To indigenous peoples, it's not just a plant, it's a sacrament. Consumed in rituals, peyote opens visions, deepens prayer, and connects the soul to something beyond. For the Native American Church, it's medicine of the spirit, as sacred as communion wine or holy water. But to U.S. law, peyote is a Schedule I controlled substance, the same category as heroin. Cultivating it without authorization is a serious crime, punishable by federal prosecution. The contradiction is staggering. On one hand, a plant so holy it shapes centuries of tradition. On the other, a crop so feared it's lumped with the world's most dangerous narcotics. To this day, Native American religious use of peyote is protected, but only within recognized tribes. Outside of that, a single cactus in your garden could land you in legal jeopardy. And here's the irony. The plant itself grows wild across parts of Texas. Imagine walking across desert land, passing by a cluster of peyote, and realizing those unassuming green buttons are the center of a legal and cultural firestorm. But peyote isn't the only crop tied to agriculture and fear. The next one is so beloved in America that you drink its juice every morning. Yet if you plant the wrong version of it, You could destroy entire industries. Number 11. Citrus trees from certain regions. Orange juice, lemonade, lime in your soda. Citrus feels like the essence of American sunshine. But behind those cheerful groves lies one of the country's greatest agricultural fears. The threat comes from an enemy so small you can barely see it. The Asian citrus psyllid, a tiny insect that spreads a disease called citrus greening. Once a tree is infected, its fruit becomes bitter, lopsided, and useless. There's no cure. Whole orchards must be destroyed. Now imagine this. A traveler returns from abroad, carrying a small orange sapling in their suitcase. To them, it's just a souvenir. But hidden inside could be the insect that wipes out America's $9 billion citrus industry. That's why states like Florida and California have some of the strictest plant import laws in the world. Bring in an unlicensed citrus tree, and it'll be confiscated on the spot. Try to plant one? You could face heavy fines. Agricultural officers patrol ports, airports, and nurseries, hunting for contraband saplings like detectives in a crime drama. Think about it. An innocent lemon tree in your backyard could spark an agricultural apocalypse. And if this feels extreme, remember, we're not even halfway down the list. Because the next plants aren't just threats to crops. They're tied to crime, addiction, and poisons so infamous they've shaped history itself. Number 10. Opium poppy, Papaver somniferum. They look so delicate, paper-thin petals swaying in the breeze, painted in shades of pink, red, and purple. A flower bed of opium poppies could pass as ornamental beauty. And yet, behind that beauty lies one of the most infamous substances on Earth. From these pods, when cut, oozes a milky latex. That latex is opium, the raw ingredient for morphine, codeine, and heroin. For centuries, it has relieved pain and caused addiction, sparked wars, and toppled empires. The Opium Wars of the 19th century reshaped China. Victorian doctors used it liberally as medicine. Today, the U.S. fights an opioid epidemic that has devastated communities. And at the root of it all? This fragile-looking flower. Here's the legal twist. Technically, many ornamental poppies sold in seed catalogs are Papaver somniferum. You could buy them for your garden without realizing what they are. Plant them? You're skating a legal gray line. Cultivate them for opium? That's a felony that can land you behind bars. So imagine, your neighbor's beautiful flower bed might be nothing more than harmless decoration. Or it could be a DEA raid waiting to happen. And if the poppy is a case of beauty hiding danger, the next plant is the opposite. Something ugly, invasive, and relentless. So destructive that it earned a terrifying nickname. Number 9. Kudzu, Pueraria montana var. lobata. They called it the vine that ate the South. Brought from Japan in the late 1800s, kudzu was once celebrated. During the Dust Bowl era, government programs even paid farmers to plant it. Kudzu was hailed as a miracle solution for erosion. It grew fast, covered hillsides, and promised to save soil. But what no one predicted was just how fast it would grow. Kudzu doesn't just spread, it devours. A single vine can grow a foot a day in summer. It smothers trees, telephone poles, houses, swallowing everything in a green tidal wave. Drive through Georgia or Alabama today, and you'll see entire forests cocooned in kudzu, like something out of a post-apocalyptic film. That's why planting kudzu is now illegal in several states. It's not just invasive, it's ecological domination. Think of it this way. One well-intentioned miracle plant turned into one of America's greatest horticultural nightmares. And if kudzu shows us the danger of spreading too far, the next crop shows us the danger of digging too deep into chemistry, medicine, and even drugs. Number 8. Sassafras. Sassafras albidum. Once upon a time, sassafras was pure Americana. Colonists brewed its bark into teas. Its roots flavored the first root beer. Families swore by its medicinal tonics. Its smell, sweet, spicy, nostalgic, was the scent of comfort. But hidden inside sassafras root oil is a compound called safrole. In the 1960s, scientists discovered safrole is a carcinogen. The FDA banned sassafras oil in foods and drinks. And as if that weren't enough, safrole has another dark connection. It's a key precursor chemical used in producing MDMA, better known as ecstasy. That's right, your grandmother's root beer recipe shares chemistry with a nightclub drug. Today, you can still find sassafras trees in the wild and even plant them. But extracting or selling concentrated safrole? Illegal? The government regulates it so tightly that possession of large amounts can raise red flags with the DEA. Sassafras is a reminder that sometimes the things that feel most nostalgic, most homemade, can carry shadows we never expected. And if sassafras blurs the line between tradition and crime, our next plant erases the line entirely, turning beauty into one of the deadliest poisons on Earth. Number 7. Castor bean plant, Ricinus communis. It's gorgeous. Red stems, spiky seed pods, leaves shaped like stars. The castor bean plant is often sold as an ornamental, perfect for dramatic landscaping. But inside those decorative seeds lurks ricin, one of the deadliest toxins known to science. Just a few chewed seeds can kill an adult. Ricin shuts down protein synthesis in cells, leading to organ failure. There is no antidote. This isn't just a gardener's concern. It's a national security issue. Ricin has been used in assassinations, most famously the 1978 umbrella murder of Bulgarian dissident Georgy Markov in London. Even the U.S. Postal Service has dealt with ricin-laced letters. Because of this, the castor bean plant is tightly monitored. Cultivating it isn't outright banned everywhere, but producing or possessing ricin from it is a serious federal crime. In practice, this means growing it without awareness of the risks could put you in very dangerous territory. Picture this: a suburban yard with a dazzling ornamental shrub, admired by passers-by. And yet, within its seeds lies a substance deadly enough to be classified as a bioweapon. And if that chills you, brace yourself, because the next plants in our countdown are tied to drug cartels, hallucinogenic rituals, billion-dollar industries, and one of history's most infamous deaths. Number 6. Coca plant, Erythroxylum coca. To the highlands of South America, coca is as ordinary as corn, a crop, a medicine, a companion for long mountain trails. Indigenous farmers have chewed its leaves for centuries to ease hunger, dull altitude sickness, and extract gentle, energizing relief. It's woven into rituals, woven into life. But peeled back, coca holds a secret chemical power. The alkaloids in its leaves can be refined into cocaine, a drug that shaped cartels, wars, and global policy. Here in the United States, cultivation of the coca plant is strictly controlled. The plant and its derivatives are treated as controlled substances. Grow it in your backyard, and you're no longer a gardener. You're potentially part of an international crime scene. It's also a place of legal paradox. Certain companies can import decocainized coca leaf extracts for flavoring. a historic loophole that once flavored beverages in the U.S., while an individual with a single potted plant can face federal scrutiny. And if one plant can create such global ripples, the next one reminds us how culture and criminal law often collide in ways that feel personal, even intimate. Number 5. Khat, Catha edulis. In cities from Djibouti to Yemen, Khat is social currency. You chew the fresh leaves during long conversations, keeping talk moving, commerce humming, and community alive. In its native regions, Khat fuels weddings, politics, and ritual. But Khat's chemistry, specifically cathinone and cathine, produces amphetamine-like stimulation. For that reason, the United States classified Khat as a controlled substance. Import it, grow it, or possess it with intent to distribute, and you risk federal charges. For immigrants and diaspora communities, the ban bites in a different way. A plant that held home in a bundle now becomes a marker of difference abroad, part of cultural continuity that the law renders illegal. If Khat shows the friction between law and culture, the next plant shows the friction between state and federal law, where what's legal in one place is crime in another. Number 4. Marijuana, Cannabis sativa. Few plants have the kind of public life cannabis does. It's medicine and pastime, industry and rebellion. From counterculture symbol to multi-billion-dollar market, marijuana's story in America is a story of transformation and contradiction. In many states, cannabis is legal for medical or recreational use. Cities host cannabis tours, cafes, and legalized supply chains. But federal law still classifies cannabis as a controlled substance. That means growing marijuana can be legal at the state level or a federal crime, depending on where you stand. Meet the small-town farmer who converted her greenhouse into a licensed cannabis operation, creating jobs where there were none. Across the line, a neighbor with a single plant risks federal action. The plot twist here isn't chemical, it's jurisdictional. This dual legality has spawned confusion and conflict. Banks refuse many cannabis businesses. Interstate commerce remains tightly restricted, and U.S. federal policy lags behind public opinion and state laws. Cannabis is a plant that forces us to ask, who decides what's acceptable in our gardens? Next, a plant that isn't about politics, markets, or ritual, but about cold history. A plant that silenced a philosopher and still, today, commands fear. Number 3. Poison hemlock, Conium maculatum. Socrates drank hemlock. The word echoes through Western history. A philosopher ordered to die by poison, and a plant forever tied to that moment. Poison hemlock wears a delicate face, tall stems, umbrella-like clusters of white flowers, a look almost identical to harmless wildflowers. But every part of this plant contains toxic alkaloids. Ingestion leads to paralysis, respiratory failure, and death. It's not subtle. It acts fast. Because it's so poisonous and can be mistaken for edible lookalikes, many jurisdictions restrict the intentional cultivation or distribution of poison hemlock. Accidental ingestion by children, pets, or foragers has led to tragedy. That's why control is strict. Imagine a forager pruning what looks like Queen Anne's lace for a salad. And within minutes, a life is undone. The plant's beauty is part of its danger, a siren song that hides lethal notes. This is one of the few plants in our list where the law's concern is immediate personal safety rather than agriculture, commerce, or culture. Hemlock isn't about taxes or smuggling. It's about survival. Two plants remain, Both reveal different American stories. One about hallucinogenic seeds hiding in plain sight. The other, an everyday crop tangled in tax, power, and paradox. Number 2. Morning glory seeds, Ipomoea violacea, and related species. The morning glory is a gardener's delight, a flower that greets the sun, climbing fences and trellises with cheerful blossoms. Children draw it in art class. Homeowners plant it for charm. It's the very definition of harmless beauty. But the seeds? That's a different story. Hidden inside morning glory seeds is lysergic acid amide, or LSA, a naturally occurring compound that is chemically similar to LSD. In small doses, it can alter perception. In large ones, it can trigger hallucinations, disorientation, and nausea. In the 1960s, during the counterculture movement, some experimented with morning glory seeds as a cheap, accessible hallucinogen. The result? Emergency room visits, poison control calls, and seeds quietly slipping onto federal watch lists. Today, the flowers themselves remain legal and common, but selling or planting seeds for consumption purposes is explicitly illegal. Garden stores sometimes even coat seed packets with chemicals to discourage ingestion. Picture a child skipping past a cheerful fence of blossoms, unaware that inside the seeds lies a molecule once chased by hippies for visions, and still tightly monitored by law enforcement. And if a humble flower can spark that kind of contradiction, imagine the plant that stands at number 1, so ordinary, so profitable, yet so restricted that your right to grow it depends not on safety, but on taxes and control. Number 1, tobacco, Nicotiana tabacum. Yes, the plant behind cigarettes, cigars, and chewing tobacco, one of the most iconic crops in American history, is illegal to grow for many individuals. Why? Not because it's dangerous, though it certainly is to health, but because it's profitable. Tobacco is one of the most heavily taxed and regulated crops in the United States. Federal law technically allows individuals to grow small amounts for personal use, but many states restrict or outright ban it. Try to cultivate a small tobacco patch in certain regions, and you'll quickly discover that your backyard is less about farming and more about fighting tax law. The irony is staggering. Corporations can cultivate endless fields, raking in billions, while individuals may face barriers or fines for nurturing just a few leaves. Tobacco built colonies, funded revolutions, and shaped America's global trade. It was once currency itself, as powerful as gold. And today, it's treated not as a sacred plant, but as a product under government lock and key. Picture a split screen. One side, a corporate warehouse stacked with millions of cartons. The other, a single homeowner pulling a few drying leaves from a clothesline, wondering if they've broken the law. Tobacco is more than a plant. It's a mirror of how deeply law, money, and control can sink their roots into the soil of freedom. What do these 15 crops tell us? That plants are never just plants. They are stories. They are risks. They are mirrors of our fears and reflections of our desires. An herb can be outlawed for spreading too far. A fruit can be banned for harboring hidden pests. A cactus can be holy to one people and criminal to another. A flower can conceal chemistry that alters the mind. And a crop as ordinary as tobacco can reveal how law isn't always about danger. Sometimes it's about power, money, and who gets to decide. Imagine your own garden again, the seeds in your hand, soil waiting for life. Now imagine the invisible web of laws wrapped around them, dictating what may grow and what must never sprout. In America, Not every seed is free. Some are tied to poisons, others to addictions, others to empires, but all remind us of this. Every plant carries a story. And maybe, just maybe, the question isn't, what can I grow? The real question is, what do we choose to outlaw? And why?